But I was grown when Grandpa died. His grandma died when she was 59.
Oh.
And Grandpa died when he was 70.
Oh, I see. Did they live close to you?
No, they lived up on the avenues. And the old home still stands.
Yeah, I think you showed it to us. Did you show it to us last time we were here?
I showed it to you, but I don't know when.
Uh-huh. Well, you said he was a real stern man, huh?
Yeah. He was scared to say anything to her for she'd fall.
Uh-huh.
She was way up on the top of this cherry tree.
And Alice was who now? Who was Alice?
Dad's sister.
Your dad's sister.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And so he just looked at her and he said, well, what was you doing up in that tree so high? And she says, oh, just getting a few cherries, the rest of you couldn't reach.
Oh. Did she get scolded by her dad then?
Well, I think he scolded her a little bit.
Yeah.
But he was half scared.
Oh, sure.
Because when she was up on that tree, because the tree was just a swaying. Dad said it was just a swaying.
Oh, my goodness.
And her up on the top of it.
Well, you said they used to have a meeting at the tabernacle every Sunday?
Yes.
What kind of a meeting was it? Wasn't a sacrament meeting? What kind of a meeting was it?
They didn't pass a sacrament or anything.
Yeah.
But it was like a sacrament meeting.
I see.
But
They just had speakers and things like
oh
that?
yes, they had good speakers.
Uh-huh.
But you know yourself, it wasn't interesting for children.
Oh, golly, you can hardly get kids
Sacrament
to...
meeting isn't interesting for children.
That's true.
They go, their parents takes them, they make them go.
Yeah.
But what do they get out of it?
Well, they learn how to sit quiet.
Yeah. Some of them do.
Well, that was interesting. I wonder if that kind of sternness in the family, was it just an inherited trait that he had?
That's what?
That sternness that he had, that he was so stern.
Yes.
Was that inherited? Do you think that was an inherited trait?
Well, I don't know. Now, his father didn't come out here that I know anything about.
Oh.
But Grandma's father and mother came.
Uh-huh.
And their name was Tuckfield.
Yeah.
And, but I don't remember Grandpa's mother and father coming. But he had a brother that came.
Well, in that 4-generation picture, the oldest man was there in the picture. That would have been
Well, that
your
was
granddad's
that
father.
was my grandfather, my father, my brother, and Bill.
No, in the 4-generation picture, there was 4 Williams.
Yes, because it was all named William.
Yeah, uh-huh.
Now, Grandpa's name was William George.
Uh-huh.
Dad's name was James William.
Uh-huh. And then his granddad was William George.
And then, let's see, Grandpa's was William George, and Dad's was William James. And Ken was Kenneth William.
Uh-huh.
And Bill was William Erickson.
But the little boy in that picture is Ken. And there's 4 of them, see?
Yeah.
So that Grandpa Phillips must have been in Salt Lake. The great-grandpa.
Well, it was my grandfather.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
My grandfather and my father. So that made 2 of them.
Uh-huh.
And then Ken. And then there was, Judy was acting as Bill.
Yeah, we had it taken with Judy. Uh-huh.
We had to take it with Judy.
Yeah.
And, because there wasn't another boy.
Do you remember the sword that Bill has?
The what?
The sword? Do you remember the sword?
I don't understand
Do you
you.
remember the sword that Bill has? You know, the cavalry sword that belonged to great-grandpa Phillips?
It was what?
A sword. You know,
A sword.
Yeah.
A sword.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yes.
And it was in, which grandpa's was that?
That was Grandpa Phillips's.
George,
Yes,
William
George.
George.
William George.
And the Black Hawk War
All those antiques of that rifle and the sword and that
belonged to him, huh?
oh, billy club was all Grandpa's because he was a policeman once.
Uh-huh. But the sword, he fought in an Indian war with, didn't he?
He was?
Did he fight in an Indian war?
Not that I know
Oh, he
of.
didn't, huh?
Uh-uh.
Oh,
Not that I know of.
I thought maybe that's where he got
No.
the sword.
No, he got the sword. I don't know really how he got the sword, but
Oh,
they were all Grandpa Phillips's.
uh-huh,
There was the sword and the rifle and the billy club.
uh-huh. Well, he still has the sword. Bill does.
Yeah. Well, who has the rifle?
I don't know. I don't know anything about that in the Billy Club.
Well,
Do you remember who you gave it to?
I don't know where the billy club went then, and I don't know where the sword went, or the rifle went.
Do you know, Bill? Do you know about the rifle?
No,
Well, anyway, we still take good care of the sword.
Yeah. Well, the rifle, I always thought Bill had it.
Uh-uh. No?
Well, I wonder if Gordon had it.
Maybe that's where it is.
When Mel comes up this summer, I'm going to have him ask Mary if Gordon ever had a billy club,
Uh-huh.
a policeman's billy club.
Yeah. Now, let's see. You don't ever remember then your great-grandfather, huh? The one that was in England?
Not great-grandfather Phillips, no.
No.
But I do remember my great-grandfather Tuckfield.
Do you?
My grandfather Tuckfield,
Yeah.
rather.
Now, they were born in England, weren't they?
They came from England with Grandpa and Grandma.
Oh, did they? Uh-huh.
And you see, Grandpa, I said Grandma and Grandpa, but I don't, there wasn't, that I ever remember that Dad's father, grandfather, came with him. I don't remember that.
Oh.
But his father came,
Uh-huh.
and his father fell in love with this girl on the ship.
Oh.
And when they got to Boston, they got married.
Uh-huh.
So then they came out to, when they come to Salt Lake, now what was, see my mind plays tricks on me. It cuts off what I was going to say.
Oh. That's okay.
But, oh, it was important too. But
Something about when they got to Salt Lake.
when they got to Salt Lake, then they went through the endowment house.
Uh-huh.
That it must have been a year or so before they went through the endowment house because they had a baby,
Uh-huh.
and they never took this baby to the endowment house with them.
Oh.
And you know, she wasn't sealed to her parents until I guess just before Ray died.
Oh. Someone finally
And I
caught
was
up
up-
with it, huh?
I was up at the library with Ray's sister-in-law in Spanish Fork, and while she was doing some writing and that, I was moseying around,
Uh-huh.
and I seen a book and it said Phillips, George Phillips.
Uh-huh.
So I opened it and it was Grandpa's,
For goodness sake.
and in it, it told everything about him, but it just didn't say that Aunt Emma, that was Dad's oldest sister that lived
Uh-huh.
to be grown.
Uh-huh.
And she wasn't
She wasn't sealed to them.
wasn't sealed to him.
Huh.
It said, and give the date when she was sealed, and a lady from Denver done the work. I remember writing all that down.
Uh-huh.
So when I came home, I called her son,
Uh-huh.
and I chatted with him a while, and then I said, the main reason I called you, I wanted to ask you if you knew that your mother wasn't sealed to Grandma and Grandpa. And he says, oh, you must be mistaken.
Well, they didn't do sealings of children to parents in the endowment house, that's why.
And
It was only for sealings.
so it just went on. And I said, well, it wasn't. And I said, you go up there and you look for a book with William George Phillips, and it'll tell you right in it.
Huh.
So in a day or two, he called me and he said, well, you were right.
Huh.
But I said, she has been sealed to Grandma and Grandpa now, because some lady in Denver done it,
Huh.
done the work.
Yeah.
And, but he got down to brass tacks and saw that it was done and done right, and that after I told him it wasn't
Oh,
done.
that's good.
So it was all done and done up right.
Yeah.
But they just didn't take the child with them.
It's a lot better that way.
Cheese.
So, anyway, that's too bad.
Well, I said, it's one of those things. I shouldn't have been such a klutz.
Well, better than your hip.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
That's what my daughter said. Well, Mother, it's a good thing you fell. Well, what happened? We walked 5 miles every day. Bob had that open heart surgery, you know.
Yeah.
And so the doctor told him he wanted him to walk 5 miles a day.
Wow.
And a mile in 15 minutes or less. And so you know you're really pumping.
Yeah.
And we just finished our 5-mile walk, and up here about 2 streets up, my neighbor, his husband had a massive stroke. And so she was driving out to Gorge, and they had him in St. Joseph Villa and rest home. So she goes over there, or is going over there every day, to take care of him. And I asked her, and I went to ask her how he was, and I stubbed my toe. Went to step up on it. I couldn't quite hear what she said. I went to step up on the curbing. I stubbed my toe, and I fell and got more me this way. And I fell on the grass, but Vicky said it's a good thing you didn't fall on the concrete or the asphalt, or you could have broken your hip. Sure. Anyway, and then her husband, he died and was buried yesterday.
Oh, my goodness.
But he had a massive stroke and it did a lot of brain damage. A lot of healing,
That's right.
But he said, well, we'll put this on you, and then he said, let nature heal it. So
Yeah.
I'm hoping nature does me a good job.
Oh, I do too.
Yeah.
Yeah, we took I'm with Red Cross, and I just came back from down to
The Red Cross.
I had to laugh at my wife. She tells me a lot of times, she says I ought to take my clothes and move down there. Well, I'm on the disaster team, and so whatever happens, like if somebody takes like if a fire breaks out, well, I go over there and check the fire, and then if they need clothing or food, or then I can give them a certificate for food, and then they don't have to pay a nickel of it back. Red Cross will give them shelter and everything else. So
That's great.
so I'm on call quite a bit.
Uh-huh. We needed
Yeah.
a lot of Red Cross workers when we had that earthquake.
Well,
Yeah.
in
Wow.
fact, we sent several teams down there.
Did you?
Yeah, they asked me if I would go, but right now with Ideal and Margaret and everything else, well, I couldn't afford to go down there.
What was I going to say? Did you feel your earthquake?
No,
You didn't feel it?
it wasn't anywhere near where we could feel it, but our daughter lives right
Yeah.
on the epicenter.
Oh,
Our daughter Chris lives in 9 miles north of Santa Cruz.
Oh, does she?
Yeah, and their home has about $25,000 worth of damage.
Well, and the thing what I would do, again, what type of work does he do? Times, depending on the money and everything, I mean, the people's financial status, that they'll give up to $5,000 to help rebuild that home, and they don't have to pay a nickel back.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of people that lost all of their homes.
Oh,
so
sure,
I
sure.
think they're blessed to only have damage done.
That's
Uh-huh.
right, yeah.
And to not have any injuries. They were all home.
Yeah.
You know the funny thing about it, Ideal and Margaret was just talking about you kids not too long ago.
Is that right?
That's right.
And is Aunt Lil still alive? I knew that she was in that rest home.
Yeah,
And
she's
that
still
her
there.
eyesight isn't too good.
Well, she isn't too good in any respect right now.
Yeah.
She still has the Parkinson's disease really bad, and it makes her mouth and her face
Puffed
shaky,
and
you know.
dry, yeah.
Her mouth is just
Yeah, I know it,
working
yeah,
continually.
well, yeah.
And And she doesn't remember most of the time.
Uh-huh.
So, but she is 94 years old.
94.
It'll be 94.
Yeah, well, that's what I thought. I know that Mama was
You know-
11 years older than her. She's 84, wasn't it?
Who's that?
Flora.
Flora, and she has osteoporosis, and she's real bent over, you know.
Oh.
And then that's her husband. He'll be 86 this November, and you know they're
Yeah.
just kind of have
Getting
a
up
hard
there in
time.
age.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, I
their
know.
daughter Renee, I know you probably heard about her, but anyway, she usually tries to fix their food and do their shopping for them
Yeah.
and things like that. And then they have this. So they can't take care of themselves really, and they have this. The nurses come in 3 times a week and they bathe them
Yeah.
then the RN comes in once a week and checks their blood and their blood pressure and things like that. So they have that with the with the Medicare. So that helps them out that way.
Yeah.
But they've done pretty good. I said, Herb still, he always had a good sense of humor, and he's still got his sense of humor.
That's great.
Yeah, so that makes it pretty good.
Great. 89.
Oh, for heaven's sakes. And I said, boy, we're all getting up there.
Yeah, really.
One thing about it is hell we get old.
Oh, I know it. Aunt Faye just sits there. I don't know why I'm still here. Why don't they take me? Why don't they?
Yeah.
80.
Yeah.
She doesn't look 80 at all.
Well, I said, I always remember, I'm 5 years older than Bill, and then Margaret's 4 years older than I am.
Uh-huh.
So I just had my 76th birthday.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's impossible.
Yeah, I said, time really flies. Now, you want to know when I was born, huh? I was born February the 7th, 1914. And I'm 76 years old. And I'm glad I got good health. And so far about 1990, I'm not sure.
Oh,
Born in Sandy.
I was born, of course, yeah, I was born in Sandy, Utah.
now he wants to say your name.
My name
Ideal.
is Ideal J. North.
Okay.
In 1919, September the 27th, and about 1990, just like I was telling us a minute ago, man, I'm glad I've got good health and in good shape, and I'm here with my family. We're really happy, but couldn't be better. Okay,
I was born July the 10th, 1910.
10.
And I'll be 80 years old my next birthday, and so far I'm in good health. And with 1980, I'm glad that I'm alive at 1980.
1980.
Now you're going to tell him
Sandy.
what you
Born in
did this
Sandy.
morning.
What you did this morning, yeah. I rode the exercise bicycle for 20 minutes, and then I did my walking. So I got an hour and 18 minutes in downstairs.
Name?
What's your name?
Margaret and Selma Jacobson. I was
You're-
named after my mother.
Go ahead, talk some more.
Say something was wrong.
No, you want to take anything wrong. How many years did you work for the county?
City.
City.
Say, yeah, say.
Capital state. I worked 31 years for the state capital in computers and that. And right now, I'm glad I'm alive in 91. 90.
Yeah, she's in there somewhere. Huh?
Yeah.
And I don't know whether I'll live till 1991, but I'm hoping and praying I will.
See, that's the attitude.
Yeah.
In 1990, I said, I'm glad I'm alive. I got my good health. And I said, I'm glad that my children are here. Now that I have this problem, why my son and his wife have been coming over on Wednesdays and doing my laundry and bringing our dinner. And on Fridays or Thursdays or Fridays, my daughter comes over and she does my vacuuming and takes care of my house, so I don't have to sit and look at a dirty house. So I'm really grateful for that. And I hope that my arm will be well and that by the end of the year I'll be better.
We're in Sandy, Utah, and this is the old stomping grounds where Bill spent a lot of time when he was a kid. This house is Aunt Edie Christensen's house where he stayed, where she made her famous lemon pie. Phyllis and Virgil Jacobson's home. Bill's cousin, Virgil. This is where Bill used to play when he was a kid. This is Aunt Selma's home. This vacant lot next door is the one he always said he was going to buy. Build his house here someday. In the back?
Yeah.
This is Selma and Hiram Jacobson's house. And the chain link fence has been added and the telephone poles, but the original ditch is still there.
This is where I used to dance one night with a teenager in Sandy City, Utah. Okay.
This is the house of Per Erickson, Bill's grandmother, in Sandy. It's at 8800 South and 630 East. And it's historically, it was 200 South in Sandy. He said they used to ride sleds down a snowbank on the west side of this house.
I was born here.
Oh, this is where he was born. His grandmother was the midwife.
Hi, Grandpa. This is my house. This is Brett. He's my buddy.
Does he talk?
No, very seldom.
That's probably true.
Say some more.
Say some more?
Say some more. For generation picture. For generation picture. Judith Ann Phillips, born July 12th, 1944. William Erickson Phillips, born May 26th, 1919. Kenneth William Phillips, standing. October 21st, 1896, and seated. William James Phillips, born September 4th, 1871. Phillips, fourth generation picture taken about 1895. Young boy Kenneth William Phillips, seated at left. William James Phillips, standing. William George Phillips, seated. William James Phillips, born 1819, Isle of Wight, British Isles, died Salt Lake City,